Hunter x Hunter 2011 is my favorite anime of all time, and earlier this year, I set out to experience the manga in its entirety for the first time, completely unaware that just a few months after I finished, the appearance of a mysterious Twitter account would herald the return of Hunter x Hunter to Weekly Shonen Jump's pages. I started my read-through because I wanted to discover what exactly it was that made watching Hunter x Hunter such a special experience for me. Was there something about the adaptation that was particularly good, or would the manga hold up just as well? After reaching the current stopping point in the manga, I can say for sure that it is the latter. Hunter x Hunter is an incredible story that, bolstered by Togashi's stellar art and paneling, consistently had me engaged, focused, and enjoying the story. And one relatively unimportant scene put in perspective why I think this story resonates with me so deeply. This occurred after the chairman election, when Koala, a former Chimera ant soldier, has a conversation with the reborn Kite. Koala was reflecting on his life choices and began talking about the soul, this small, undetectable presence that, despite its incredibly small size, to the point where its existence can even be doubted, is the building block of all existence. In that moment, Koala was mesmerized by the infinite universe, supported and created by infinitesimally small things. The size of a thing has nothing to do with its power. This was the moment that seized me and made me realize why Hunter x Hunter was so important to me. All of my favorite stories have incredible world building. Naruto, Star Wars, One Piece, etc. They all manage to craft delicate yet expansive worlds that deliver intrigue and meaning through the way that they are painstakingly built. But sometimes, I feel like world building is too often treated almost like a checklist, that there are those that measure the effectiveness of world building solely on how many places the author can create, the number of cultures, different languages, and political features. The idea of creating an almost real world for characters and plot elements to interact with. Now Hunter x Hunter does have all those aspects, of course, and before Togashi's most recent hiatus, he even introduced the Dark Continent, a massive new landscape that he will now explore. However, my favorite aspect of Hunter x Hunter's world building comes on the margins. It's the smaller things tying the world together that mean more to me. Togashi is always adding lesser details of varying importance into his story. What I love is that Togashi created a world where nothing matters more than anything else, which gives everything meaning. What I mean is that you never know what information that Togashi has provided will become relevant in the series and how important it may be. Some information goes completely unused, while other pieces of information are major factors in future events. Now, Hunter x Hunter is not alone in this. Many series, One Piece is a good example, also capitalize on the strength in world building. But this realization was more than enough to move me personally, because I think this style of storytelling perfectly matches one of the core themes of Hunter x Hunter. The idea that we should all slow down, appreciate all aspects of life, and seek to grow, enjoying the journey for its side trips rather than being overly enamored with one's goals or destination. Only on a reread did I really experience how that ethic truly embodies Hunter x Hunter to its very core, especially in its world building. In a way, the world itself feels like it is the story, in a way that I don't think is quite captured as well by other media I've come across. Hunter x Hunter doesn't just tell you its theme, it makes you feel it personally, and it asks you to consume the series itself with that in mind. Were I to speed read the series in order to get out a YouTube video or a Twitter review, I'd be violating the spirit of the story itself. Those small moments, small details throughout the story have immense power and importance, and they should all be treated with care. Hunter x Hunter made me appreciate all that it had to offer. It taught me a principle that I could use in my own life, and a great deal of that magic can be attributed to how Togashi builds the world of Hunter x Hunter, and especially its main power system, Nen. In Heaven's Arena, Togashi lays out not just the basics of Nen, but also smaller aspects that underpin the system. It is these underrated aspects that will have a massive impact on how the story is later played out. Heaven's Arena is a great metaphor for the themes Togashi is trying to establish, that in the journey, one finds things more important than one's ambitions. Gon and Killua go to the tower to achieve their goals of training and acquiring money to prepare for the York New auction. They end up discovering something that they could never have expected, but were desperately in need of. A power that would help them achieve both their immediate goals and those far down the line. Nen. Nen, also known as Mind Force, is a technique for controlling and exerting the life energy, or aura, that all humans unknowingly exude. The technique is comprised of 4 basic exercises: Ten, Zetsu, Ren, and Hatsu. But within that basic explanation are interesting facets of Nen that have great potential. When Gon and Killua easily reach the 200th floor of Heaven's Arena, they are overcome by a peculiar bloodlust they are exposed to while attempting to register for battles on the floor. They're surprised to find that the perpetrator is Hisoka, but even more shocked that whatever he is doing is not just a feeling, it's real power that's being used to stop them from moving forward. they come to discover that the 200th floor is actually a secret den for combatants that use the special power known as Nen, and what Hisoka's doing is actually a test that will end up protecting them. You see, even a weak level of Nen, when used to attack a non-user, can be deadly. The only way to protect oneself from Nen is Nen, so in order to pass Hisoka's test, Gon and Killua turned to Wing to learn the power. One of the things we learn from Wing is the secrecy of Nen. Wing is later revealed to be tasked with teaching Gon Nen as the other Hunter exam, which is a secret exam only administered to those who pass the initial test because of the distinct properties of Nen. It is a rare, incredibly powerful ability that literally every person in the world could theoretically use. Were large numbers of people to discover Nen, the resulting damage it does to the world and society would be catastrophic. Nen also has to remain secret for another reason, the ease in gaining it. Gon and Killua are left with a deadline of mere hours to attain Nen, overcome Hisoka's Nen, and register for the battles. To jumpstart Gon and Killua's Nen abilities before time runs out, Wing proposes a shortcut. Aura nodes, through which aura flows out of the body, can be forcibly opened by another Nen user to allow one to access Nen immediately, skipping the months of training that would normally be required to wield Nen. Done incorrectly, this process could also kill the recipient, as they will be taking an influx of Nen completely unguarded. Wing explains that the fighters of the 200th floor often do a similar thing in a much less kind way to intimidate the newcomers, who either awaken Nen or die in the process. As one might expect, Gon and Killua survive their Nen initiation and are able to control their aura enough to beat their deadline, and throughout the arc, their abilities are described as amazing, yet also terrifying. You see, Gon and Killua grow at an incredible pace, easily surpassing their fellow trainee, Zushi, because as Wing explains to all of them, there are some people, perhaps because of their distinct nature or background, with very rare talent in Nen. Some people become known historically as geniuses, psychics, or superhumans because of their ability to unlock and master their rare secret ability. After learning enough Nen for Gon to successfully hit Hisoka in a one-on-one match, Gon and Killua leave Heaven's Arena. They take with them the lessons they learned about Nen, which they will sharpen with guidance from many experienced hunters like Bisky, Kite, Knuckle, and Shoot. We, the audience, come away with far more than the gaudy details of Nen. We receive the base aspects that could be reasonably ignored as well. Aspects of the system that can end up just being a fun fact in another series will have massive implications in the future. These three ideas in particular, the secrecy of Nen, the Nen initiation, or baptism, and the existence of Nen geniuses, will return in full force in the most climatic arc of Hunter x Hunter, the Chimera Ant arc, and will remain important going forward into the future of Hunter x Hunter. The Chimera Ants are one of the most menacing threats in anime. They are introduced as incredibly powerful, easily able to hunt and overpower humans. But that's not what makes them intimidating. It's their animalistic hostility and hive mentality, alongside their incredibly fast population growth and evolution. Simply by eating a foreign species, the queen ant can create offspring that exhibit the genetic traits of that species. Not only that, when they find a food that they like, they eat it to extinction. So when the queen ant eventually gets a taste of humanity, it is clear that the entire human race is on the chopping block, facing a powerful, just as intelligent species that is rapidly growing and has world domination on their agenda. Despite this, the situation isn't all bad at first. An experienced Nen user like Kite has so little difficulty taking them out that he decides to use the occasion as a cute little training expedition for Gon and Killua. Then the unthinkable happens. A powerful Chimera Ant soldier, capable of seeing Nen, appears and captures Poko, a Nen using hunter. And around the same time, Gon and Killua both hit Ramit, a very aggressive Chimera Ant, with their Hatsu abilities while training. However, Ramit escapes, and with Heaven's Arena in mind, you know that's going to be a bit of a problem. Shortcuts in training that don't come up again in Shonen are pretty common. The Room of Spirit and Time is criminally underused in Dragon Ball. No one can use Naruto's Shadow Clone training shortcut but him, and Urahara's 3-day Bankai training never really appears again after the Soul Society. These are necessary things that one needs to turn a blind eye to in order to maintain tension in the story and eliminate easy solutions to problems that arise. But the Nen baptism, which hasn't mattered since Gon and Killua got Nen all the way back at Heaven's Arena, is now very important. More important than it was when it was introduced. Ramit recovers from his battle with Gon and Killua good as new. No, he's actually even better now, as he is now bathed in the light known as Aura. Because Gon and Killua failed to finish the job, the Chimera Ants figure out that Nen exists. Making matters even worse, Pito, the first Royal Guard member, is also born, already able to wield Nen. This shows why it's so important to keep Nen a secret. Once the secret is out, you have a disaster on your hands. The power to learn is a dangerous weapon, a theme explored throughout the Chimera Ant arc as it gives an introspective look at human nature. The way that Togashi establishes Nen as a secret contributes to making these early developments in Chimera Ant feel surprising and impactful. Once the ants figure out that Nen can be awakened in anyone if they are simply hit with it, they torture Pokel and extract the information on how to use Nen from his brain before killing him. Now all the ants, already far more powerful and intelligent than normal humans, have access to Nen abilities, which throws the situation into another gear. The situation is so serious that the president of the Hunter Association himself, Netero, has to act. And the importance of the Nen initiation doesn't end there. Meruem, the newly birthed Ant King and his elite guard, take over the country of Isgorto in order to set forward two plans: selection and unification. These are plots to use the forceful method of Nen awakening to jumpstart Nen abilities in humans, who would then be transformed into human ant hybrids and brainwashed in order to create a powerful army. This is devastating because, going back to Heaven's Arena, this violent process will kill most of the people who undergo it, and despite that, the resulting army will still be undoubtedly strong enough to take on the world. Through two lesser aspects of Nen, secrecy and initiation, Togashi sets the stage for a massive conflict far more dire than anything the story has touched upon at this point. And perhaps the most important thing that resolves this conflict, tying together these aspects of Nen with the themes of the arc, is the third facet of Nen that I described earlier: Nen geniuses. The Chimera Ant arc is about Meruem's journey as a character, following him waver on the line between Ant and humanity. And what brings him to this point is his relationship with the Gungi champion of Isgorto, Komugi. Komugi becomes his Gungi partner, friend, and eventually much more. Her existence holds the key to Meruem becoming more human and abandoning his plans to lay waste to humanity. The most pivotal moment in this entire arc occurs in the middle of one of their games, when Meruem notices Komugi's aura, and Komugi explains that something is causing a flood of new strategies to enter her mind. This is a clear-as-day, natural Nen awakening of a genius. Like Wing explained in Heaven's Arena, geniuses of all sorts in history were actually Nen users, and Komugi falling into this category makes sense, given that she's the only person who has been able of consistently beating Meruem in any form of competition. It is upon seeing her unlock this ability that Meruem asks for her name, the first time he has ever had enough interest in a person to even care, and also begins to wonder his own name, evidence that he's starting to recognize the individual value of humans and embrace humanity instead of the ant. Moreover, Meruem recognizes that, through the method of Nen awakening that the Chimera Ants planned to use for selection, Komugi would never survive, because it could only filter out those with strong physical abilities. Yet having lost to her over and over, Meruem instinctively knows that Komugi's strength is the real deal. Seeing that Komugi can use a different form of Nen teaches Meruem that there are different kinds of strength, and if there are different kinds of strength, does Meruem's physical power really mean that he has the right to rule? Do those that display non-physical power deserve to be trampled on, or should they be respected? Meruem, in this moment, comes to the conclusion that his ability to trample other kinds of strength is actually proof of his own inherent superiority, which shows that he is not entirely changed, but the mere act of rethinking his actions and philosophy, something he had never done before, something that Poof thought to be diametrically opposed to the idea of Meruem being the king, is an unquestionably massive moment and major step in his character journey. Long after seeing Komugi's genius at Gungi and her physical weakness, he later declares to Netero that his goal as king is not just to take over the world, but also to use that power to protect the innocent weak that cannot defend themselves. He also decides that protecting and being with Komugi, the person he loves, is more important than any dreams of domination after his brush with death and the restoration of his memory. These conclusions that Meruem reaches, the very antithesis of his earlier goals, are no doubt the result of his interactions with the Nen genius Komugi. These themes of strength, potential, humanity, along with Meruem's natural growth over the arc towards his stunning conclusion with Komugi, all come back to these small, obscure details about Nen that are irreplaceably important to the themes being established. These secrets of Nen are not just deep seeds of foreshadowing that exist to be explored only in the Chimera Ant arc, they exist to affect the narrative for the rest of the story. Hunter x Hunter is back, and Yoshihiro Togashi is once again moving forward with his exciting saga centered on the exploration of the Dark Continent. At the point at which I am writing this, the King of Kaken, alongside the World Government, or V5, the Hunter Association, and Netero's son Beyond, are in the midst of a competition to explore a secret landscape hundreds of times larger than the world we've known up till now, the Dark Continent. One factor that will undoubtedly play a role in this arc is the 5,000 ant-human hybrids that were left over from the selection plan that Meruem and the Royal Guard started. Whoever is able to exert control over them has a massive army of Nen users at their beck and call. In another example of how Nen should be kept away from the wicked, it turns out that the army is under the control of the worst person imaginable, with Ging revealing that the trickster rat and former Zodiac Parison Hill is in command of them. And with that being the case, only God and Togashi know what he has planned for them. Meanwhile, the expedition to the Dark Continent itself is a cover-up for a death battle among the princes of Kaken to discover which of them will succeed their father and rule their empire. Kurapika finds himself in the middle of this war, as he works to protect the life of the 14th Prince Wobble, survive on the way to the Dark Continent, and confront the 4th Prince of Kaken, Sretnich, who is in possession of the last remaining Scarlet Eyes that Kurapika is hunting. So far, Nen has been the central driver of the conflict, as each prince has a unique Nen beast protecting them, and only some of the princes and their bodyguards are even aware of Nen. Kurapika uses the secret nature of Nen and his knowledge concerning it to his quick advantage. His personal goal is to create a stalemate to stop the killing and get closer to Sretnich. And by revealing Nen, he's able to foil the silent assassination plans that are being plotted by the princes with knowledge of Nen, and form alliances with princes eager to have their bodyguards learn Nen. Furthermore, Kurapika not only uses the secrecy of Nen to his advantage, but also Nen Awakening, using one of his abilities to quickly awaken Nen and the bodyguards of the princes, completely altering the trajectory of the contest. From Kurapika's actions, to those of characters like Melody and Prince Benjamin, information and curiosity regarding Nen propels the plot and will continue to deeply shape the arc. Finally, even the aspect of Nen geniuses plays a role as well. Kurapika will eventually confront the psychotic 4th Prince Sretnich, who perhaps because of his insane nature, has become obsessed with learning Nen and even awakens one of the most powerful Nen abilities we've seen to date. Sretnich is the exact definition of a Nen genius, and the perfect example of why Nen is kept a secret from the general public, of why Wing saw Gon and Killua's growth as terrifying. But Meruem, to Pariston, to Sretnich, power in the wrong hands is never good. These events will continue to unfold, and I will continue to be amazed at how they were allowed to come to fruition because of the small bits of groundwork Togashi did in carefully constructing the world of Nen hundreds of chapters prior during Kamen's Arena. Hunter x Hunter is a story all about the journey, and this theme is most prominently established at the end of the election arc, after Gon is healed from the events of Chimera Ant and is finally able to have a private conversation with his father Ging. In this conversation, Ging explains that he always wants something that he cannot have, yet despite that, he's never in a rush to gain those things. He moves along at a natural pace, showing appreciation for the things that he finds on the way there. He then advises Gon to live the same way, in order to find something more precious than what he was looking for in the first place. I think that this is how Togashi approaches the series itself, and I felt that same spirit through the creation of Nen. Small things, details you skip in favor of the big picture, end up being more important than the things right in front of your eyes. Heaven's Arena, after Chrollo vs. Hisoka, may never matter again. York can focus on Kurapika's advanced Nen techniques, and Greed Island sees Gon and Killua move far beyond the level of the 200th floor through their growth in Nen usage. And going forward, I expect the series to give immediate attention to new Nen abilities, especially non-combat abilities that will allow the cast to safely traverse the treacherous Dark Continent. And all of that will be excellent, because it will be built on a solid foundation that Togashi has established for Nen through Heaven's Arena. And the same is true for the rest of the character, thematic, and plot elements of Hunter x Hunter. The world of Nen perfectly exemplifies the deep and meaningful world building of Hunter x Hunter. It shows how great Togashi is at working on the margins, and how that ethic embodies the very soul of the series. To again quote the words of one of Togashi's least important characters, "The size of a thing has nothing to do with its power."